Hello, everybody. This is Gynarchy Awakening. I'd like to start by thanking Religion Made Simple for the supportive comment he left on the previous video. Yes, I am a little temperamental. I do see where you're coming from, and I do fully intend to follow through to make videos, to get the word out there, to do projects and stuff. And I do, especially that main one I referenced, I have mostly made up my mind about it. I just need to find time to do an outline of the material. So, on a more positive note and more constructive video, I'd like to ask, what is that was funny. Okay, let's get back to work here. What is your role in the Gynarchy community? So I've outlined a bunch of different ones. I'm going to kind of go over how each of them are and why the role is important. And partially why I want to do this is because I think that when people are discovering the community for the first time, one of the things that I feel holds us back as a community is that unlike with like if you go to college, they'll say, "Oh, here's all these different careers," right? Yay. So, and you have so many to choose from, and then you can, put your time and thought into really figuring out what it is that you want to do with your life. You go to any other organization and they'll have something similar. They'll say, this is the hierarchy, this is what we offer, these are the different, job titles, different positions, whatever. I don't think that we have that in the Gynarchy community as a whole. In other words, unless you found a particular author, you don't really necessarily know what your role is or what it could be. So I thought it would be important, especially because I'm a male Gynarchist, and a lot of them who are coming into the community are males. So I thought that I would take the time to use this video to provide kind of a bit of guidance, maybe show them some paths that they could follow that are more in line with their skill sets, abilities, or educational background. So the first one is the painter slash drawer Gynarchist. Now, this individual is very important because sometimes people will consume artwork that is Gynarchic, and then they'll start thinking about it. And we do need painters, we need drawers who depict what these societies could look like, or at least give you little snippets, little tastes. Or, maybe you need these individuals as part of a larger collab project in the future. But this is very important because some people can't see or imagine how something could be. So kind of just illustrating it, depicting it, it gives somebody a way to think about it. And if you can provide somebody with a way to think about something, then the next thing that's going to happen if they take it seriously is, how do I think about that thing? And I feel like the painters and the drawers are one of the foundational roles of the Gynarchy community because they are the individuals who help bring people in to the community. It doesn't happen automatically, it doesn't happen right away, but usually how it does is people see a picture or a depiction of that society, however they come across it, and it gets them thinking. This happened to me, on one of the websites I saw. There were visual depictions to go along with the writing, and when I got a look at the visual depictions, it got me. It helped me think about things in a visual way, and not just from a writing lens, not just through a writing lens, where I was like, I can't visualize. I have aphantasia, so when I read it, all I see are letters and words. But when I have a drawing, like when I can actually look at it, then I can. It's easier for me to put the words into some other context because I can't put images in my brain, or I can't, have movie or video playing on up here. So this really is a big helper for me. The next one is article writing. This could be you being in a Gynarchy group on any number of websites. This could be you having your own website or doing something at WordPress where you write about things Gynarchic related to Gynarchy. You write about the topics, you educate people about it, you provide your own perspective. This is something that is, again, one of the core pillars. When I was starting to do research in the community, I found people who had written articles about this stuff. And I was also in the midst of, while I was being directed in some ways, I found these little bits of information here and there. The next one is editor. I think this is really important because I don't believe that any one person's writing is without fault. I think that having a second opinion, having somebody who can come in and edit your stuff to make it more presentable to the public, more acceptable to them, I do think that there is a role for that in the guider community. In fact, I'll go even further. Aside from article writing, I do think that we need people who can also take a look at the works of artists and say, maybe this, maybe that, maybe you should edit out certain kinds of content or include certain things. So I think that there's definitely room for an editor type of mindset within the community. The next thing is the critic. Now, when I mean critic, I do not mean at all, like when I am referring to being a critic, I don't mean like just tearing the other person down. I mean, I'm talking about constructive criticism where you're saying, I don't really like this, but what about that? I think we can build off of that. So in other words, when somebody has an idea for writing, or for a painting or a drawing or just a concept or a project or whatever it is, or if there's just something within the community that needs to be addressed, a critic plays a very crucial role in pointing out. It's different from editing because you're just taking what's already there and you're kind of maybe watering it down or cutting some things out or possibly making a few suggestions. But with criticism, especially constructive criticism, you're not limited solely to criticizing an artwork or even writing. Your criticism can extend to the way in which operations are being carried out, or any number of things, or whether an idea is really good. For example, some people have criticized the anarchistic side of anarchistic Gynarchy type. Some people have criticized it for what it can't do, or how it failed in the past, or how societies that were matriarchal were overtaken by male-led societies because, simply put, they weren't able to muster a defense against them, and not as efficiently as male-led families and so on and so forth. So if you are like a critic, you're going to be able to evaluate any kind of ideology, any kind of Gynarchic perspective, and sort of point out the pros and cons, and in other words, just critique, just being good critique. It gets people thinking. It provokes discussion, proper debate, and that in turn will educate people who are coming into the community or who are looking to engage with the material on a deeper level. This might actually go to two parts. I hope it won't. Event organizer. Now, this is something that I intend to do in the future, but an Gynarchic event organizer is just somebody who tries to get people who are Gynarchists to attend some kind of event. Maybe it's a digital event, maybe it can take place in a Zoom meeting, or it could be an in-person event where you try to get people together, you cook food for them, there's some kind of cooking competition with women as the judges and stuff. So this is I think, going to be a more important role in the future, because as more Gynarchists continue to find each other, I think it is important to sort of set up certain kinds of events so that people can, it's not just a conversation or a topic of debate. Like, there are actual events where people can get together, maybe have a lot of fun, enjoy what it is that they're doing, and so on and so forth. This is something that is, people have talked about organizing events, but there have been certain barriers dropped. In fact, I'm probably going to make another video entirely on a Gynarchic event organizer. In other words, organizing events so that people can communicate in person, so that they can talk with each other, develop bonds, connections that are on a more deeply personal level, things of that nature. Now, this is another one, and I've noticed this in the observationalist. There was a wonderful comment in one of the Gynarchy groups. Well, I feel like observation is not an endpoint, it's definitely a start, where you are just observing different things that are happening in the community. They could be new phenomenon, old phenomenon. Somebody had written a comment about the different types of Gynarchic systems that individuals want. Some of them want staters. Some of them want capitalistic Gynarchy. Some of them are more interested in commune Gynarchy. And then you have people who, like me, just want community. But then you have those individuals who want anarchistic Gynarchy. So you make the observations, and of course you write down your observations, and then other people are like, hey, yeah, I've seen that too. It's a great way to get people on the same page, to connect people, to start topics of conversations. So there is definitely a role here for the observationalist, and that they are making these observations not just about the different conceptions of Gynarchy, but also just about what's happening in the community. Like, what is it that people are doing? What are they not doing? What's the role of men? What's the role of women? How are people reacting to this information? What actions have people been taking in the community? What has been changing within? In other words, they're kind of like historians in a sense. They're observing things, they're writing down, they're keeping a record, and they're actively interacting via their observations. And I think that's important, to have somebody who's not necessarily always an active participant, but who can just sit on the sidelines and go, I see this and I see that, and I think we need to talk about it. And it's not necessarily an article, right? It doesn't have to be academic. It could be something as simple as a few sentences or just a description of something. It doesn't have to have the same kind of academic weight as a research paper. It doesn't have to be long writing. It doesn't have to be any of that. It could just be somebody pointing something out or making an observation and bringing it to the public. It doesn't have to have the same kind of, in other words, it doesn't have to be an article. It would just be a paragraph of somebody saying, hey, I noticed this, and asking a few questions. Now, the next role is a Gynarchic imagination person. Somebody's gonna tease me over this again. I don't know. I hope they don't, but please try to understand where I'm coming from here. I don't know what to call it. I can call it a GIP, a JIP. A Gynarchic imagination person. It's essentially where you're just creating different, like you're creating a bunch of different ideas. You're proposing solutions to problems. You're thinking about like different kinds of projects or whatever, and you're just coming up with ideas. Like, you're just coming up with ideas for people to consider and to think about or to act on. So in other words, the role of the JIP or the GIP or whatever. It just sounds funny, but it is something that the community needs. We do need more JIPs. We need people with a lot of ideas that are willing to either act on the ideas or to share them to give, so that other people may want to act on it. Then there's the group recruiter. So every organization or group of people, or even just any movement, is going to have recruiters. And so I think it's important for there to be a role where a Gynarchist literally goes out and does the research, not just in the femdom community, the FL, or any of these communities, but just in the general public, goes out and talks with people and does that research and finds out which groups of people are more receptive to these ideas. And if so, what would they be willing to, listen? Would they be willing to learn? So in other words, just trying to figure out like, even if they don't say they're they're into femdom or they're into FLRs, but who in the public, are there any like groups or any other places where people could go and find individuals who are, if not interested, at least receptive to the content? The last one is kind of simple. It's the public relations communicator. I've got about 30 seconds. Public relations just means that you're interacting with the public in relation to the ideas. Like, you're just talking with people who may not be open to your ideas or even be hostile to them, and sort of interacting and engaging with them in a diplomatic manner. In other words, you're kind of like a diplomat to the rest of the public, like you were a diplomat acting on behalf of your community. I do think there is a role here as well, and if you want me to go into it more, I can later. I've run out of time. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.